Chapter number 25, Riding Through the Air. The sadness Nicholas felt then was incredible. To lose someone you love is the very worst thing in the world. It creates an invisible hole that you feel you are falling down and it will never end. People you love make the world real and solid, and when they suddenly go away forever, nothing feels solid anymore. He would never hear his father's voice again, never hold strong hands, never see him wear his red hat. The tears on Nicholas's face froze as they flew through the cold air. It was the saddest birthday, the saddest Christmas ever. He clung to Blitzen's back, feeling his warmth, only occasionally looking behind him to make sure the sleigh and the cage were still there. With his ear to the reindeer's fur, he could hear the blood pumping around Blitzen's body. It seemed to replace the sound of galloping. He'd been crying since his father jumped off the sleigh. Had he died as he had fallen? I don't know. Or had Anders and Teufel and all the others reached him first? Either way, he feared the results was the same. He would never see his father again. He felt it, a howling emptiness inside his heart. Slowly, the sky became light. "I'm sorry," said a small voice behind him. "It's all my fault." Nicholas had hardly heard little Kip say a word except, "Oh no," until now. "Don't be sorry," Nicholas shouted back, wiping a tear from his eye. "None of this is your fault." A little time went by. "Thank you for saving me," came that same little voice. "Listen, I know you think my father was a bad human, and it was a bad thing he did, but there was good too. He was just weak. We had no money. Humans are complicated." "Elves too," said little Kip. Nicholas stared into the whiteness of the snow, clouds all around him. Even climbing through small chimneys or flying through the air was easier than believing in life. Yet as Blitzen galloped on, Nicholas knew that he had to carry on and return little Kip to his home. He just had to. "You are a friend," said little Kip. They flew over the mountain, and this time Nicholas could see Elfhelm straight away. The street of 7 curves, the tower, the village hall, the wooded hills, and the lake. By the time Blitzen landed right on in the center of the reindeer field, a crowd had already gathered. Nicholas wasn't scared because nothing in the world could scare him now. He had just lost his father. What terror could the world offer that was worse than that?
I'm so sorry.
High five.
After that was worse than that? Even when after climbing off the reindeer, he saw the part of the crowd make way for Father Vogel, who was marching towards him. He still didn't feel fear, and just emptiness. "So, the son of Joel the woodcutter has returned," said Father Vogel. Nicholas nodded towards the wooden cave. "What is going on?" "I brought little Kip back of him," announced Nicholas loud enough for everyone to hear. "It's true, Father Vogel," said a smiling, white whiskered elf walking towards. It was Father Topol, closely followed by little Nish. "Elf Nicholas has saved little Kip. It's the news we've all been waiting for," just said Father Vogel, offering Nicholas a recurrent smile. "Yes, I suppose it is. But now the human must go back to the tower." But the crowd roared in disagreement. "But it's Christmas day. Let him be. Father Topo shook his head. No, not this time. Enough of this goodwill, Father Topo. No more words out of you. The human must return to the tower. That is it. Final. The crowd of the elves grew angrier, and a couple of them threw some extra hard pieces of gingerbread at Father Vodol's head. Father Topo looked stern for the first time in his life. You have an upstring on your hands.
An uprising is like when all the people go against the rules.
You will have an uprising on your hands. The human boy is a hero. And the elves started chanting, "Hero!
Hero! Hero!"
You ungrateful elves! Shouted Father Vodol at the top of his voice, which is very, very loud. Don't you realize all I've done for you? How safe I helped you become by ending goodwill and joy. I quite liked goodwill. Come to think of it, said one elf. And joy wasn't so bad either, said another. And I miss fickle dancing. Me too. And proper pay. Free chocolate coins isn't enough to live on. And being nice to non-elves. And on it went. The list of complaints. And Father Vodol, as the democratically elected leader of Elfham, realized he had no choice. All right, he said. Before we decide what to do with the human boy, let us take little Kip home. With an almighty roar rose up to the crowd, and many became spickle dancing illegally. Nicholas looked around and cried again. But the time his tears had a little bit of happiness in them. Kind of happiness that could only be felt by being around the joy and goodwill of elves.
Yeah, what a good chapter.
That actually cheered me up.
That cheered you up, right?
Yeah.
He saved little Kip, brought him back to Elfhelm, and
I don't want to talk about...
And then the people in Elfhelm, who all had to follow these really ridiculous rules, had an uprising and were empowered to say no. And then Father Voldo had to listen to them and said, okay.
But first, let's take a little Kip home.
That's right. Good chapter. We'll see you guys in the next chapter. Boom!